Welcome back. We just talked about the WWE Hall of Fame. It's time for us to get into our own Hall of Fame. Yes, the class of 2016 Smark Out Moment Hall of Fame. A little bit different from the WWE Hall of Fame because we can't actually induct wrestlers because we're not wrestling or anything like that. Instead, what we do is we induct recurring jokes. Last time around, we went through and we gave inductions for the 2015 Hall of Fame to Big Show's Gun, Dr. Hanukkah Bob Coor-Holly, who was paired up in a tag team with Thurman Sparky Plugs, and we also inducted Time Cow and the However Counter. This time around, we got a couple of nominees that are going to be inducted they made big headway into our recurring jokes for whatever the years that they were a part of, kept going for a long, long time, ended up being jokes that went way past what they should have in a lot of different ways. But the first one I want to talk about is probably the newest one, actually. Yeah, this one is from February 2015, and that is a brand new section that we're going to be having in here, which is, instead of the Warrior Award, because we can't do something like that, our equivalent is going to be the official Fuck That Guy Club. And the first honoree that we have to go with, of course, is Lanny Poffo.
Hey, well deserved.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck the hell out of that guy.
So
now, there's one problem though, and that's that he refused to go into this unless Randy and the father went in with him too.
Poffo is that.
So it pains me to say it, but I guess we have to say fuck you to Randy Poffo too.
So for those who don't know where this all started, this eventually came about from Wago ranting on how much he hated Lanny Poffo. And it sort of started becoming a running gag, particularly in the Ask Him, to talk shitty about Lanny Poffo. And then that morphed into just a general fuck Lanny Poffo, fuck this guy, fuck that guy. The main person, I think, outside of Wago that I would attribute this catching on to is Silent Wind of Doom, who ended up making it a recurring thing each week. Fuck Lanny Poffo, fuck whoever had done the Ask Him that week, usually me, for my Tony questions and stuff. What was it? It was Superstar Billy Graham was another one of the ones that he would put quite a bit. What do you guys think about the whole Fuck That Guy Club? Now it's a t-shirt even.
Yeah. Thanks, Silent Wind of Doom. You see what happens when you encourage this kind of behavior.
I think it's a good indicator of how odd this whole show is. Where it's like a running gag for over a year of, hey, fuck that guy, fuck that guy, fuck that guy, and the answer to the question is this. Something completely unrelated to it. But, Peyton, thoughts on the whole Fuck That Guy Club and our first inductee, the honoree for the night, Lanny Poffo?
Never really understood anything the guy did. The Genius was a pretty dumb character. I guess he did some cool things in the Memphis days when the Poffos kind of ran the shows, but it was all boring guys in underwear. I'm not really going to get too into that, so fuck that guy.
Well, what are your thoughts on the actual, the recurring joke itself?
We said fuck that guy a lot. So we'll say it one more time. Fuck that guy.
Drew, your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, first off, I'd have to give a congratulations for Lanny Poffo being the first member of the induction of the Fuck That Guy Club. I know it was kind of low-key and not official, but I'm glad we finally got this official, because really, fuck that guy. A guy who didn't do much for the business thinks he should go into the Hall of Fame because of the success of his dead brother? Fuck that guy. But seriously, I'm actually looking forward to this whole section. Gosh, because we have a lot of guys we got to this club, and it's going to be great. But it's going to actually suck that we probably will only do one or a tag team of this a year. So...
Or we could do what the Warrior Award's happening and just not do it again.
Well, Tony, see, if you didn't do it again, fuck you. You'll be the next guy. It'll be unofficial, but fuck you.
I think I would have to be the next inductee of the Fuck That Guy Club. I think I'm the one who's gotten the second most amount.
I think it's great because you have to have a way to vent your frustration sometimes, and the Fuck That Guy Club is the perfect outlet.
I like the emphasis on outlet.
Outlet, yes.
So I like the idea of this being a recurring thing. We might do it again next year. Maybe we'll drop it like the Warrior Award. I don't know. Either way, fuck Lanny Poffo. That's the best that you can kind of sum this up with. We also have another new section to this, which we were going to have something that was going to be an equivalent of the celebrity wing. But who would we induct? You know, are we going to induct just fucking wrestlers? Well, if we did that, then might as well just be the WWE Hall of Fame. If we're going to induct just extra jokes, what's the difference and all that? So I ended up figuring out the best possible way for us to do this is to have something that we have recurring for a while for a lot of different things, but it's going to be something a little bit different too. It's the impression wing. And this year, based off of the votes that you guys had put out there and based off of some different things that we were talking about and whatever like that, I figured the best thing for us to go with was the Drew White, Mr. Gotta kind of impression. That came about all the way back in 2014, a little bit earlier than that if we want to kind of like pinpoint it to when we started actually talking about it. But the whole Mr. Kotter thing, or, you know, if you subscribe to the whole Mr. Carter kind of thing, we noticed before that sometimes when Drew talked, he would sound a little bit like John Travolta from back in Welcome Back, Kotter.
Vinny Barbarino.
And I don't know who it was, but somebody in our chat when we were in the Raw post show one night, we were doing an impression of it, and they said, "Who's Mr. Carter?" And that ended up taking an extra little bit. So, Drew, I want to get your opinion on this whole thing first. Our impressions of your voice and the whole.
Tony, I will say it was funny at first, and then it got really fucking annoying.
And then it's funny.
And then
again.
I was like, well, I kind of deserve it. So I was like, haha. And then I was like, I fucking hate these guys. I don't even know why I do this show with them. And then I was like, actually, I might as well own up to it. So, it's got it. But
Such a range of emotions.
I know, but
It's a roller coaster ride for this whole thing.
it is. Just like Mr. Kata as well. But I'm glad that at the end of the day, at some point, we'll stop doing this show, and when people look back on it, one of the highlights of it is going to be the fact that we just make fun of the way this poor kid talks sometimes. So you guys, maybe you guys should be in the fuck that guy club, but for reals, I will accept this as or Mr. Kata will accept it as well. So you know, it's kind of cool in a way.
Now, Kaylin, you're the newest member of the team, but you've been following us for a while before that even.
That's correct.
What are your thoughts on the whole Drew impression?
At first I didn't understand it, but then it totally made sense, and I was like, wow, this is really accurate. What I want to know is, this makes Drew the first one among the Smack Talk crew to be inducted into the Smack Talk Hall of Fame. Is that correct?
It's more so our impression of him.
Okay. Well, I mean, by proxy, he inspired the nomination here.
He is the show host of the year, though, apparently.
That is true. That is true.
Show
So I was going to say
The show host?
The show host.
The show.
I was going to say, if anybody deserves to go into the Smack Talk Hall of Fame first among this crew, it's got to be Mr. Kata, Mr. Drew. Hey.
Yeah, I have no idea how this a joke was voted on, and I honestly don't know if people shut up. I have no idea if people really liked it. I know it was fun to make fun of. I don't remember how whenever people were voting for the end of the year awards, I don't remember how this joke did in most cases, but I knew at some point Tony was going to be an asshole and put this in the Hall of Fame, and then we're going to have an episode where we talk about it. And you know, I'm kind of glad Wago's not here because he would take it to a new extreme, and I might kill myself.
Well, like with any of the jokes, it starts off as something small, and then it gets blown out of proportion and
For sure.
really exaggerated. So I think you should be honored that you have your own kind of joke like that. And it's one of those things where you said, you know, at first you thought it was funny, then you got kind of annoyed at it, and then you thought it was funny again. If you would have just stayed annoyed at it, then we would have gone overboard with it
Yeah.
even more. If you acted like it bugged you,
Yeah, I think that's why I stopped like hating it or caring about it so much, because Wago's an asshole, Peyton's an asshole, Tony could be an asshole.
I'm a nice guy.
Kaylin, you're
Brian's a
okay,
nice
I guess. Brian's a nice guy, yeah. And whenever Miguel said something about him, like, yeah, you're fucking Miguel, shut up. But at the end of the day, you know, whenever I get the opportunity,
He had that finger on the buzzer.
because you were just waiting to pull the trigger.
He was.
He was. I will accept this award on behalf of Mr. Kotter and for the impression himself. And whenever Mago actually sends me something in the mail for this, I will take a picture. I will take a picture of it.
Pango.
That is the twin towers of this Mega Powers Radio.
Papa Pango, Papa Pango, Papa. Like you said, though, it's a good example of something going really far out of proportion, because it was like, it started off just like, Mr. Kotter, and now it's just,
No, unless something really bad and we just destroy it happens in the next year or so, there is another one that we're not going to really talk about. But I kind of have an idea of what the next one is, and I think Wago might be a little bit upset about it that his impression isn't going in this year. But
we have more than enough for a couple of years. We've got the whole Sean impression that can go in eventually. We've got the idea that we can add an at the end of anything for a Wago impression. There's a bunch of them. We've got Miguel impressions that we can do.
Nothing? Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's.
No?
I don't know. His Smart Man impression is pretty cool.
Yeah, he does do a good Mark Man impression.
Oh man, the Vince Russo impression.
We've got
Aren't I awesome?
the JD and Not Jeff impressions that we can do.
There was impressions.
What,
Come on,
Yeah,
guys,
I
I'm
got
not
you
really
guys.
sound tall.
Oh, those impressions. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
however, I just want to talk about however. Whenever I however the however.
Well, Peyton, what are your thoughts on the Drew White impression?
It's very fun to do.
Anything else? It's just it's fun.
It's fun to do. That's what we do to you should just try to do it sometime.
But now it's starting to sound like the hiccup
Yeah.
stuff from
Yeah,
earlier.
you know that shit you took.
Well, he had that. He said earlier. So
I thought it sounded like the Wyatt family intro.
I'm pretty sure we were just doing that for a while.
Let's go back in time to the oldest joke from this list. This is actually one of the very first recurring jokes that we ever had, which was the spirit of Eddie Guerrero. This ended up happening because I was talking about TNA and how much they suck at one point, and I said that Chavo Guerrero being a part of it was just nothing more than the spirit of Eddie Guerrero, a half-assed attempt for them to capitalize on his death and try to be like, you guys like Eddie, right? Well, we've got Chavo. WWE's done the same thing too, but TNA kind of seemed like it was even more. And that struck everybody funny for some reason, and I've felt sort of bad over the years about doing something. I feel horrible about the picture that's up on the screen right now if you're watching this on YouTube. But the spirit of Eddie Guerrero became a good sign to kind of talk about how, like, Chavo Guerrero's career has gone over the years. Like, he's never escaped that whole Eddie kind of shadow. But the spirit of Eddie Guerrero being like this recurring joke that it's not even Chavo that they're paying attention to. It's just the remembrance of Eddie Guerrero. Eventually we got to the point where we don't even talk about TN anymore, but Peyton, I'll go with you since we talked last about this when it comes to that. Spirit of Eddie Guerrero, any memories that stand out to you about this recurring joke?
my favorite part about Spirit of Eddie Guerrero is when he was Eddie Guerrero. Kind of sucks that he died. Yeah, sad.
Drew, any thoughts about this?
Well, I remember when this first joke started to happen, I was a listener at the time, I believe, and I thought it was fucking hilarious. It was to the point where whenever I referred to Chavo with my friends, or if I was ever in a wrestling group talking about him, I just referred to him as the Spirit of Eddie Guerrero, and people are like, huh? Oh, yeah. Okay. So I really think that if we really tried to push that, I think we could get it popular. But this is one of the few jokes that I was just a listener. I wasn't someone a part of the podcast. So I love it. I think it's well deserved. I don't know how many of these old ones you could put in here every year, but you know what? We always have to have an old joke in there. I enjoy it.
We do have some other ones from that 2013 era, but, you know, next year, by that time, 2014 will be around the same age range. And
I like how he says you can't have any of these old ones. Like, these are fucking ancient ones from the golden era. Like, you know, the dark ages before Smack Talk was on iTunes.
Back in 1978, when Smack Talk was talking about...
Back when Smack Talk was only listenable on ham radio.
You had to send away for the transcripts.
Now, Kaylin, were you watching around the time that Spirit of Eddie Guerrero happened?
I think I picked up on the show a little bit after that. So that one was a little bit before my time as far as following the show. But it totally makes sense because that is exactly what they did. And kind of with Rey Mysterio, too. You know, they kind of, you know, oh, you guys, you know, here, we're going to put Eddie Guerrero onto this guy so you like him even more. And it's it makes sense. It's kind of sad how that all worked out. But calling him the Spirit of Eddie Guerrero, it totally makes sense.
And a lot of people were talking about that we should have a particular another joke that should go in this year, and I decided that the David Otunga has dead family for a living joke just couldn't go in at the same year as Spirit of Eddie Guerrero. It's a little bit too weird.
Posthumous induction.
It's a little bit too much to put to with them, but possible for next year. You never know. Another joke that I think we need to talk about that got a lot of steam over the past year or so.
I see what you did there.
Actually, it's not even that one. I'm not even talking about that. Something that we joked about it at the time that it happened, but then we sort of let it die down, and then it came roaring back, and I really don't know why it did, but the past couple months, it's been something that's been like really just thrown out left and right, is Kane's got a shot. This was originally the predictions for Extreme Rules 2014 on May 1st, 2014, where it was Kane against Daniel Bryan. And after we were all talking about the idea that Daniel Bryan, of course, is going to win this match, and there's like no possibility that he would lose, Miguel interjected with, I don't know, guys, I think Kane's got a shot. And it wasn't even as much over the top as what we've gotten to the point now where we do it in the typical rule of thumb, you know, everything gets worse. But he tried to argue that we kind of weren't giving him enough credibility, that Kane could possibly win that world title immediately after Daniel Bryan won it, after all this nonsense and stuff. And we just sort of, like, cut it down, I guess. Sort of like with Apocalypse Now, how people usually say, oh, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Reminds me of victory. Well, the line actually isn't that. It's there's a whole bunch of stuff in the middle of it. But we decided, let's cut to the chase. The joke is, I don't know, guys. I think Kane's got a shot. Just...
I know you're talking about how we all kind of cut the tree down. I fucking burned that tree down. No pun intended with Kane's pyro or the burning chairs. I'm just saying, Miguel's a fucking idiot.
Jeez.
Kane did not have a shot. Looking back on it, they probably should have gave Kane that title just because Daniel Bryan was going to die eventually and couldn't wrestle. So maybe Kane should have got the title. However, he did not have a shot. Miguel's a fucking idiot. And thank you for giving me this amazing joke. You fucking tool.
Well, if memory serves correct, you were like super annoyed at the idea that
that's
he
what I'm
thought...
saying right now. Because it's preposterous thinking that Kane was going to win the title off of Daniel Bryan right after he won it at WrestleMania. That kind of like goes against the laws of everything that happens in wrestling. Plus, why the fuck would they give a world title in 2014 to Kane?
Because he's got a shot.
Yeah, Tony, I think you're full of shit. So, Kane's got a shot. I love it. It's funny to this day. I think some people get pissed off when we make the joke, but I love the joke.
Really? You think people don't like it?
I'm not saying people outside of our group. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've said it a few times, and Peyton was like, shut the fuck up, Drew. I feel like that's happened.
No, the
more
problem
than
is
once.
you don't know how to make proper context for a joke. You just go, "Hey guys, Kane's got a shot." Right? Kane's got a. I said the funny joke. That's why I don't like it.
Well, you're a fucking asshole. Kane's got a shot. I don't know why you think he doesn't.
Well, Peyton, your thoughts on Kane's got a shot?
Oh, it's fucking hilarious, especially because it never happened.
I thought that was part of it actually as well. He didn't actually say it. I think
He
it's
never
just-
actually said those lines. He
No.
said something like, I think Kane's got a chance here. Maybe that's what it was. That wasn't even it, but it was never he's got a shot. But for some reason, I think if we actually tried to make the joke, Kane's got a chance, it never would have caught on. But for some reason, the vernacular of Kane's got a shot,
Yeah.
it just rolls off the tongue so easily.
And there's so many things that I've pictured over the years when we've said, or over the year, basically, that we've said this Kane's got a shot joke of like, we were just talking about the other night, the idea of having Kane shooting a basketball. Or
Oh,
like Kane with Big Show's gun shooting something. He's got a shot. Like
No,
just
I remember I made a Photoshop around the time we first started this joke where Kane was holding a baby, and I put Kane's got a tot.
Yeah.
Or like Kane at the doctor's getting a needle. He's getting a shot. There's so many ways to go around it, and all of it is ridiculous. It's really stupid, but I just love it. It's so like, there's something very basic about it that I love. Because it's kind of like innocent.
Well, it's also funny to add all this humor to Kane, who is this tortured monster whose family was burned in a fire.
Well, I think it's a necessary tool because, in essence, we're talking about this ridiculous product with these crazy storylines, and occasionally one of us will have an incredible prediction or opinion that's totally off the deep end. And so this is a way to kind of classify that. You know, it's Kane's got a shot, which is kind of the combination of Drew and Miguel there. But it's a very good tool. The Kane's got a shot. And I was listening at this point when this one came up back in 2014. And at the time, I didn't think much of it. You know, it's one of those things where I heard it and it just kind of went in one ear and out the other and it passed.
Right.
And then in weeks later, bringing it back up and I'm like, oh yeah. And then I went back and I actually listened to that episode, you know, purposely just to hear that part. And I was like, oh yeah, he didn't really actually say it that way. But it kind of has a life of its own.
It's kind of like that theory of when people remember something, even if it's not correct, if you keep on saying it, people remember it as such. I forget which one of us even brought it up that he said Kane's got a shot.
Well, I mean, you're the one who like blew up at him as soon as he said it.
Yeah, it might
but
have been you.
but it didn't come back up like weeks or like Kalen
No,
said.
I
a
think we
month
started
later.
making fun of him like the next week.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, I don't think that had any time to run. I think we like went right into making fun of him.
Well, we sort of like, we died down on it for a little while there. It wasn't like from May
it was like a 2-week
2014 up until now that it had as much momentum behind it. But the past couple of months, we've really brought it back. And I don't know exactly what kind of like reminded us about it or whatever.
Well,
but
Tony, recurring jokes repeat every 3 years, so
Is that how it works?
yeah. It's kind of like fashions, you know, as you go through like long periods of time, they eventually repeat.
oh, we're coming up then on Jinder Mahal face turn.
It's like
Yeah,
calendars.
man, it's past 2. This guy needs to come out as a fucking baby face.
It's like calendars. You keep your old calendars because every 14 years the dates line up the same.
Right.
Oh.
And you don't want to spend $1 on the next one. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I love the Kane's got a shot joke, though. I think that, as we were saying, it's a great way to kind of like cast doubt on somebody's prediction in the most basic way possible. Just like if we're talking about the idea that maybe, if we're talking, like, say, like Andre the Giant Battle Royal, this time around, you got to assume there's only a couple people that could have a chance at winning that. But we would get a comment from somebody, whatever, that says like, who do you guys think is going to win? Do you think that maybe somebody like Victor from the Ascension would win?
It's gonna be Zack Ryder.
And it's like the go-to way to just explain that in the quickest way possible for people that have been following the podcast over the past couple of years isn't to break down like, no, it doesn't make any sense because he's part of the Ascension. Why would they ever do that? They don't push him, whatever. It's to just flat out go, I don't know, guys. I think that Victor's got a shot. And that just says it right there. This like,
So
real,
instead of explaining the reasoning, just belittle them with an inside joke.
just be condescending as fuck. It's just...
That's your style.
And then those people go, hey, I got a shout out. It's about it. Let's move on to another one here. We've got the tag team that's going to go in this year. Big joke from over the past while. It was the road to WrestleMania 2014 where this ended up happening. It was Ricky the Steamboat And that one is another one that actually came about from Drew. Instead of him saying Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, he just, casually had one of those little flubs, Ricky the Steamboat, and we jumped on it immediately.
No. That wasn't a flub. I said it as that. And it wasn't a flub. I just said Ricky the Steam Boat.
Either way, we
just
love
to be funny.
we love the idea of taking this to the next level, of course, and we've gotten to the point where it became, well, if he's Ricky the Steamboat, then his nickname is the Steam.
Yeah.
So he's Ricky Boat, and that sort of took on its little life on its own. We were doing this like...
No, we debated that for a while because we weren't sure if it was Ricky the Steamboat Boat.
Well, no, that's more so
Ricky the
Tugger.
Steamboat.
Well, the Tugger stuff is where it gets even weirder. Because our first, go-to...
How can it get weirder than that, Tony?
Well, our first go-to joke was the idea that Ricky Boat... there was this Jersey Shore stereotype that we were doing for a little while. It was like, yo, this is my boy, Ricky Boat. We call him the Steam. And that kind of died down a little bit because we started talking about the idea of Ricky Boat, and somebody brought up Tugboat, and somebody brought up Tugger from South Park. And then now the list that I have on the website, and if nobody knows what I'm talking about, there's a glossary of these jokes now. It became Tugger the Tugboat, who is Ricky Boat's brother. But then we went with, well, is he Tugger the Tugboat? Like he's Tugger Boat, and his nickname is the Tug. Or is he Tugger the Tugboat Boat, because he's Tugger Boat? And then it became Tugger the Tugboat Boat. And it's just a good insight into the insanity that happens when it comes to us, because none of this makes any fucking sense.
So pretty much, we took a stupid joke and we made it stupider, and it was amazingly funny.
And then they got their manager, Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell, because it was who was it that I got that wrong? Was it Wago, I
I
think?
think it was me.
Oh, you might have been you, yeah. We were trying to think of Russell Crowe. It was the Kurt Russell. So Kurt Russell is the manager for the Boat brothers. Ricky Boat. Yeah, boats. Ricky Boat and Tugger Boat, who was either the Tug or the Tugboat. Either way, it's all fucking nonsense. None of it has anything to do with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, or Tito Santana, for that matter, if you want to call him that joke. Kaylin, your thoughts on the boats, because you were probably listening around that time too, right?
I was, yes. This is one that still makes me... I'm listening to you describe it, and even though I'm familiar with it, I'm still laughing. This is a great joke, and it's the perfect example of just how the stupidity in jokes evolves on this show. You start with something mundane, and just somebody flubs a word, and it gets blown out of proportion, and then that gets changed, and a word in it gets changed, and look what this has become. What are we? So I totally approve of this joke going into the Hall of Fame.
Drew, any other thoughts about Ricky the Steamboat, or Tugger the Tugboat Boat, or Tugger the Tugboat Boat, or Tugger the Tugboat?
Yeah, I don't. I will say I always have preferred Ricky the Steam Boat just because that was my joke. But I love all the boats. I don't know why we're just inducting the tag team. I say we should induct the whole boat family.
A staple.
I think we're missing a great opportunity with that. I think we forgot the boat dungeon. It's somewhere, so...
Technically, they wouldn't be a stable. I think they'd be a fleet, right?
Jesus Christ.
The boat fleet. Peyton, what's your favorite incarnation of Tugger?
I would say he's best as Tugger the Tugboat Boat.
Yeah,
the boat
that
boat.
one has to be Tugger the Tugboat Boat.
That one's my favorite too, because it's
especially because we didn't mention that the best thing is that you got to have Howard Finkel introducing these guys.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And I know you like doing that best, Tony. How'd you do?
Oh, I love it. It's just like he was the best announcer of all time, and Lillian Garcia would do a shit job, and a lot of those other people. But when you get a Howard Finkel and how he used to enunciate things and drag it out, the gold dust wasn't just gold dust. It was all like gold dust kind of a thing. Okay. But when you get Tugger the Tug Boat, I wish I could pay him to just record that and just like see the reaction on his face.
Lily Garcia would have been like, Tugger, the Tugboat.
She would have added some Spanish flair to it. You know? Ricky, the steamboat. But I'd love to, like, if I went to like a WrestleMania Access or something and went like, hey, dude, can you do a soundbite for me? I do a podcast and all sorts of stuff. It'd be like, oh, sure. You know, what do you want to say? Like, hey, this is Howard Finkel and you're tuning in to Smack Talk? No. Can you say Tugger the Tugboat? He'd be like, no, fucking leave. Oh, man. The boat fleet going into the Hall of Fame. And our headliner for this year, the one that got, I think, the most amount of votes out of everything, or at the very least, it was like tied with something or whatever the case may be. This is one that is a huge running joke that, again, was like an offhanded comment that was made by someone that ended up getting blown into a lot of different other supplemental jokes. Rusev is a potato. Now, Peyton, I wanted you to give a little bit of an introduction to this one. How does this one originate?
I have some casual fans over who were watching Raw with me, and they're not deep into it like we are. They'll just pop over to watch Raw or a pay-per-view now and then. And this was during Rusev's big run when he had the elaborate entrance where Lana came out first and introduced him, and then he came out and did his little dance thing he did in the ring. So Rusev was getting his huge push at that time. It was trying to be taken as a real serious tough guy. So as he's coming down, my friend, not buying it for a second, just goes, this guy, he looks like a potato. And I thought it was funny. So I was like, I have to tell these guys, see what they got to say about this. Hey guys, don't you think Rusev looks like a potato? You guys thought it was funny too. Someone brought it up on the show. And then everybody thought it was funny.
It's like we all kind of came to this consensus of like, holy shit, he looks like a fucking potato.
And then it spun off from there. I mean, we turned him into French fries, hash browns.
We've had outros about him being a potato.
Ruset potato.
There's been a couple did you knows. One of them was something about like
the eyes or something.
The average amount of potatoes eaten per year, something like that. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Let's see. Roar of the Potato was episode 155. That's when you did the Rusev outro.
Mm-hmm.
That long ago. That's amazing.
Actually, we held off on that one for a while, I remember. We didn't do that one right away. So it means that joke is old as hell.
It is one of those jokes that kind of like... It probably didn't need to be something that ended up like carrying over for so long. But
well, the nice thing is that they were really trying to make Rusev as this tough guy that you were supposed to take serious. And we were just needing something like this to cling on to make fun of Rusev.
Mm-hmm. And
then once we got that, it was all downhill there for Rusev. Like, so, we started making the swatting at bees jokes.
The bees, fucking bees.
And then he lost at WrestleMania, and then it was just all ruined for him.
So I just found it out right now. You did the outro on episode 155. The Did You Know joke, which was the average real American, because he was feuding with Jack Swagger at the time, eats 137.9 pounds of Rusev each year. That was on episode 139. So it was 16 episodes that we waited, at the very least, for us to do that as an outro.
And even that fact, isn't that remotely true?
Oh, that's like the actual amount. Like, an average American eats 138 pounds of potatoes a year.
No, it's 138 pounds of Rusev.
Rusev, yeah. But that meant that, like, at the very earliest, that this was episode 138 or 139, that we started doing this Rusev potato joke. I would assume 138, since, I did you know the next week or so. But that we waited, like, 17 episodes before we did the outro for it. And now we're on episode 225. This is 100 episodes later, basically. And it's still just like, that dude looks like a fucking potato. Like, he hasn't changed his ring gear enough to make that establishment go away. He hasn't gotten more, like, a deeper tan or...
Now, Tony, hold up. He added shoes.
That's true. He added shoes. It's just, like, such a weird thing that if we were to ever tell him, I don't know what his reaction would be. He'd be like, dude, for 2 years, we've been talking about you looking like a potato. Like, what do you respond to at that point? You guys are fucking assholes.
To go home to Lana.
Yeah.
Listen, I guarantee you, that's gonna be his Isaac Yankem moment. We're gonna have him on. We're gonna say, "So, Rusev, introduce him as a potato." He's like, "Hey guys, I'm not feeling it."
Currently on the air, we have a potato.
I heard you dabble in potatoes.
We're gonna have to do this another time, guys. I'm not a potato. I'm actually Rusev.
I know it's. I heard you dabble in Rusev on occasion.
Kayla, your thoughts on Rusev as potato?
Well, when I originally heard this, I was thinking it had something to do with because he's Russian and vodka's made from fermented potatoes.
We didn't do that joke for a while.
I know. That's what I thought it was at first, but then I realized, oh no, he does look like a goddamn potato. So it really makes sense, and it's nice, yeah, like you said, because he's supposed to be this big old hard ass, and it's nice to have something to just hit him with. Nailed him, you're a fucking potato. I'm not taking you seriously. And totally undercuts him. And I think one of the first things I posted after I joined the Megamaniacs, after lurking for a while, was a picture of Lay's potato chips with because they had the design your own flavor. Yes, you can go on their website and design a flavor, and so I designed Rusev chips, and it just has a picture of a potato on it for the picture, and it says that big potato flavor Rusev chips, and I posted that in the group because I thought it was stupid and funny.
I love one of the recurring jokes when it comes to this about the Rusev Udria Rusev Machka, that we ended up doing jokes that like Rusev mashed and stuff. There's so many potato puns that have been happening over the years. I wish I would have kept like a record of them or whatever, but it probably would have gone on way too long. Any particular potato jokes that we've made with Rusev that have stood out to you, Drew, that you like really like tickled your fancy?
Well, Rusev is a potato. He is a potato. And when I think about it, all the jokes that we made, it just goes back to Rusev is a potato at the end. So I will say that's my favorite form of him. I think we missed a great opportunity with the Rusev is a potato outro. We should have went over all the different type of potatoes that he could be. We only dabbled in a few of them, but overall the joke's amazing. Every time, even when we bring it up now, I think we laugh at it just because it's so goddamn hilarious, and it's a damn shame that the rest of the internet community with wrestling has not picked up on this. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
That's actually more so than almost any other joke. That's one of the few that I thought actually could catch on and we could see a sign in the crowd. Just Rusev is a potato.
Follow the potatoes, smarkoutmoment.com.
Because nobody's bringing a sign that says the spirit of Eddie Guerrero to a fucking one.
Tony, I think Chava's got a shot.
And I'd be really surprised if we ever saw some kind of a sign in the crowd that said Drew White, Mr. Cotter. But I'll bring it out there. If you guys bring a sign that says something like one of these recurring jokes or whatever like that, if you bring a Drew White, Mr. Cotter sign to a wrestling event, that'll count for a sign me up. Why not?
If you bring a picture of Kane shooting a basketball and it says Kane's got a shot, I'll love you. I will get you a free T-shirt.
So that wraps us up for the 2016 Smark Out Moment Hall of Fame. Any other last words you guys have to say about this, Kalen?
I think it's a fine class for this year.
Payton?
It is absolutely a good class we had here. It's going to be tough to top that first class, but I think that goes with any Hall of Fame there. And we still got plenty of leftovers for future classes too, and always making more stars.
Yeah, we've got stuff like brand new from this year. We got AJ Styles. That one's been picking up a lot. There's the jokes that kind of happened towards the end of 2015. Like, actually, no, this one was the beginning of the year. This year, the Drew McBigballs.
Drew McBigballs.
When you mentioned about a celebrity wing, I forgot to make the joke, but Drew McBigballs, he thinks he's a celebrity, so.
Well, what about all like the joke characters we have of wrestlers we've been developing, like mischievous Daniel Bryan and Undertoker?
And annoying tourist Ryback.
Annoying tourist Ryback, or now we're starting to develop cool dad Jack Swagger.
Cool dad Jack Swagger.
Yeah, because he has the cool dad.
This is a good way to mention them. We've got like we actually, one of the big ones that we haven't done yet that is a possibility for the oldie for next year is Big E's package.
Oh jeez.
That's one of those go-to old ones. We've got the Bulbasaur pissed off noise for Kevin Owens theme. This is one we actually haven't done too much lately, but I still really love it. It's depressed philosophical emo Drew White. The whole everybody wears masks. Some of us on the outside, some on the inside.
Oh, Seth Rollins and the million animals he is.
Oh god, all that.
I was
So
looking
like
at the
invite
list
the whole
earlier.
like menagerie of animals onto the stage.
We got a typical go to Drew White one for the impression wing, which is his cell phone.
Impression of Drew White's cell phone.
Yeah. Excuse me.
I am 100% for the tag team of not Jeff and JD for the Fuck That Guy Club next year.
That's definitely a possibility. Future legend Eric Rowan towards the end of 2015,
Ooh,
but
I think
that one was a good one.
And even for celebrities, Phil Stevenson is a well-known doll collector.
He's a dog collector. He collects
Yeah, that's what I
dogs.
thought he said.
I'm
If we want to talk about impressions, good one to throw Peyton into the mix. Google it.
I don't know. I think Rootin' Tootin' Mike Payton is pretty cool as well.
Oh,
That is
Rootin'
another
Tootin'
one.
Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, it's another variation. Oh man, there's so many of these that are just ridiculous. Nobel Prize for book. That one's going in there eventually,
Oh,
I'm
God,
sure.
pretzels.
Pretzel sprouts. Another good Peyton one could just be the Ring King. Even though it's totally not an impression.
Oh, listen, you're totally not on the Neville level.
That one's got time.
That one
Unless
does.
Neville isn't retired.
That
It's
one's
still
a future one for sure, though. If we want to do an impression of someone that's not actually us, I've always really loved our Roman Reigns. Ooh. Lots of different things that are coming up in the future. So
Actually, one more thing. You know how we talk about the old time,
the old timey.
jokes, old time hot tags.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I actually had that as one of the potentials for this year. And that could be another one that could be a potential candidate for one of the older ones. That it's been a while since that's been around.
Peyton does the best one, the best impression of it, at least.
Hot dogs, get the hot dogs.
Lots of stuff coming up next year, I'm sure. More jokes throughout the year that we're going to end up potentially going, maybe we'll just induct that next year. So always pay attention to the glossary that's on smarkoutmoment.com to check out to see if anything else gets added into there. You never know which things are going to carry on. Maybe something will come up in the next few months that, we actually talked about a couple months ago, and it ends up getting more traction behind it, kind of like the Kane's Got a Shot or whatever. But leave your comments below. Tell us what you think about these recurring jokes in the 2016 Hall of Fame for Smark Out Moment. We have one more thing left to do for episode 225, and that is the Fantasy League. So click on part 6, find out what trades we have going on.